Hello, and welcome to the Evolving Expert Podcast, where we meet at the intersection of business strategy, conscious leadership, and aligned living to support who you are becoming. I'm your host, Vanessa Emerson, and today we will be with my friend Michael Neese. I'm so excited to spend this time with you, Michael.
Hi, Vanessa. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Michael is a happy accident in my world. I met Michael summer of 2025 at a professional development meeting I happened to sit next to him at lunch and had the most wonderful conversation and recognized the heart-centered nature of this incredible human. And so I'm really grateful to be able to bring you into my community and shine some of your light here. Let me tell you a little bit about Michael. Michael is an educator, he's a professional speaker and a coach, and he's also author of multiple books, including Our Future is Kind, which is how I think of him as my kindness expert that I know, and also happens to be his web domain, ourfutureiskind.com, and multiple other books, which we'll talk about. That book offers a hopeful and grounded exploration of what it means to choose compassion, presence, and responsibility in a rapidly changing world. I think that's very poignant, given the world we live in today. Through his work, Michael invites us to move beyond fear and polarization and reconnect with our shared humanity. So today we're going to explore how kindness is not naive, it's not passive, but it is actually a conscious choice. It's a courageous choice, and that it can shape both our personal and the collective futures for ourselves and for all. So let's jump in, shall we? I'm
Yay.
excited to hear what we're going to talk about. Now, Michael, we always start with either a mindfulness exercise or a breath work exercise or a habit. And so I always ask my guests, what is your favorite? Is there a go-to for you when you want to center?
There is one that I love, which I dreamed up, I guess, a couple of years ago. I call it the favorite person practice.
Oh, tell me.
So here we go. If you just close your eyes for a moment, and I want you to envision your favorite person. You don't have to tell anybody who it is in case you have people who are hoping for that spot and you've given it away to someone else. If you have multiple children, don't tell them which one. But visualize this person. Really try to get a sense of what's the tone of their voice. What does it feel like when you're holding hands with them, getting a hug from them, talking to them? Visualize this favorite person, maybe their smile, maybe the way their hair looks. Really get a good picture of them. Now, I want you to visualize a moment when something goes really wrong in your day. Let's say that you are on a multi-person email and somebody berates you for your terrible judgment and how you missed that big deadline and it's all on you because you have the brain of a monkey and you're terrible and you're ugly too, right? We've all seen those emails or we've gotten them, right? Now visualize instead of the person who sent that email, visualize that it's your favorite person. Now, instead of being angry and wanting to fight fire with fire and send off that email that says, I know you are, but what am I? You know, you're the ugly one. Instead of having that reaction, now you have the reaction of, oh, what could have hurt my favorite person so much that they would have done this?
Hmm.
What's triggered them? Are they okay? How can I help? What can I do to make this better? I love the favorite person exercise because go ahead and visualize them. Keep that smile in your mind's eye. When you think about this favorite person, now you're honoring them. You're also finding deep down your compassion for others. And you're making it easy to respond in kind ways instead of in knee-jerk righteous indignation. So go ahead and open your eyes back up and think about that favorite person and keep them with you for the rest of the day.
That is a lovely reframe. That was just lovely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
For the favorite person. What did you call it? The favorite person? I call it reframe. What did you call it?
The favorite person practice. Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so powerful. And I anticipate that's one of the tools or strategies you teach around kindness. It's so much easier when we know already we love someone. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so much easier to be kind. Thank you for sharing that. I feel very calm and happy. Now I got my favorite person in my head. Let's start with business or career strategy. Is there a specific business strategy or career strategy that has helped you grow your business?
Love the people you interact with. It sounds really simple. It may even sound a little Pollyanna-esque. I don't care. It's the right thing. When you interact with somebody, really try to hear them, see what they're struggling with, understand their problems, try to respond out of kindness. My book In Kind, I've reframed the idea of that business phrase of, trading goats for chickens or whatever in kind exchange you have. I've reframed the idea, the phrase to mean to do the kindest thing that you can think of in any given moment. And that's my business strategy right there is really see that person. If you treat somebody as just a cog in your greater machinery, they can feel that.
Yeah.
And if you treat that other person as a valued, treasured part of your universe that you are lucky to be in the presence of, they feel that. And that's what you want everybody to come away with.
But puts the focus more on them than on what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Right.
Instead of what am I selling you? It's, wow, what are the problems that you're facing
Mhm.
and how can I help? Which I know that that sounds trite and old and like that's the best way to approach business, but you can't approach that if you're thinking of the person as a potential sale. You can only approach that problem solving if you really care about that person.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. And and as you say, they feel that. I think it's about, in marketing, we always start with what's the pain, problem, or challenge that keeps them up at night, right? And then do we have a service that or product or something that would help resolve that? But it really starts with the on their end of what's in it for me, right? I think everyone feels like I've got a lot going. There's a lot on my plate. Is this valuable to me? Is this helpful to me? This conversation, this relationship. I don't think you can focus on this enough.
I mean, the best
Focus
business
on
deals
others.
happen among friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you visualize your favorite business exchange, it usually involves some people that you were maybe having a meal with or that you were laughing over something because you cared about each other.
Hmm. Tell me more. What else pops to mind for you? The strategy that has helped you with your business. So we've got like being other focused, being kind, kind of loving the one you're with.
Right? Well, the other thing is that once you've hung up that call, once you're out of that person's presence, be a cheerleader for anything you believe in. If you really believe in something that the other person involved in this exchange, if you really believe in what they do, what they represent, how they comport themselves, the mission of their business, cheerlead them, make introductions for that person to other people, support them in ways that they've asked you to support. Don't anticipate, don't make guesses. Ask them what they need, and then when they are out of your presence, try to be a voice for them in other rooms. And that goes a very long way as well. So, when you're in their presence, you're connected to them. When you're out of their presence, you cheerlead them. And you won't want to be a cheerleader for everybody. Not everybody is going to be your best buddy. But for those that you really do believe that your values aligned, your purpose aligned, go for it. Absolutely, you say, oh, I know this great person. Her name's Vanessa. And boy, does she know the world of speakers, and she knows how to solve these problems and get people on stages. She knows how to really see the essence of people. And so you really want to talk to Vanessa today.
Yeah. So advocate for them. That's what I'm hearing, right? So like for
Yeah.
when you believe in what someone brings to the table, and you see an opportunity to connect people to people and people to solutions, to be that advocate, um, and perhaps even hand off as a referral.
Yeah.
Has that been helpful to you as a professional speaker? Many of those who listen in will be professional speakers and consultants. How can we apply this specifically to that realm?
Professional speakers are always in the business of trying to help larger audiences solve problems, right? We take our expertise, we stand on a stage, and we try to give relatable experiences with great strategies embedded so that people can walk away with their lives changed. And so, yeah, my approach is always to think in terms of solving audience problems and really making sure that you're the right speaker. I mean, nothing is worse than standing in front of the wrong audience and trying to offer them some sort of wisdom that would work for a different one, but doesn't really fit for them. That's really hard to spot, but it's having those conversations ahead of time that can help you find the right groups to go for. So for all of
Yeah.
the speakers who are out there listening, I would say having those genuine conversations helps you sidestep a lot of those problems.
I absolutely love that. And there's real integrity in that, making sure that that stage is the right one, that platform is the right one for you, that audience is the right one for you and your message. I'm also thinking about a couple of times over the years I've heard probably at National Speakers Association meetings or somewhere along those lines, speakers who are I'm trying to think of the right term, but they've been around a while, right? They've been speaking a
Mm,
while. They're household names that we would recognize, who have talked about um, being that cheerleader for other speakers too. So
right.
I've heard them say when they're done with their presentation and the meeting planner is raving, and that's a really great time too to help promote others for those engagements. And I think we don't always remember to do that.
Well, it's always nice to have that roster of five other speakers in your back pocket. So that
Yeah,
if you are in the middle of a conversation and they start talking about topics that somebody else really digs into very well and that you're not as excited about, well, you're leaving dollars on the table potentially, but at the end of the day, who cares? What you're doing is you're providing a connection with a different speaker that builds your credibility. It also helps that other speaker, and if they're a good friend of yours, you really want to help them out.
yeah,
But also, if you get hired to that, annual event, that's great. But the next year, they're not going to want you back. They want fresh blood for that next
right.
event. So having that roster of four or five speakers' names, that's so helpful to everyone involved.
I agree. And I feel like what is likely to happen, especially if ahead of time you've talked with your colleagues, they know you are a fan. They know that you believe in what they do.
Mm,
They know that you're out there advocating for them. It's likely that you can co-refer. And that can be really powerful for both of you.
absolutely.
Yeah, love that. Are there any other thoughts on business strategy or career strategy that you would share from your body of work?
What I've found is that writing books is really crystallizing of your central message. I love the idea that, I wrote in kind. Most recently, I've had another multi-author book that came out not too long ago. It's fun to get all of your thoughts out onto paper. For me, it's really fun then to edit. Bad words on a page are better than no words on a page because you can always come back the next day and try to clean it up and
Yeah,
and fix it and make it better. But if getting on stages is a great way to practice your message, every speech is a dress rehearsal for the next speech.
right.
Then sitting there with your book and trying to write something out is you're dress rehearsing the heck out of it because you're trying to crystallize that message for people who can't ask you questions right in the moment. So you have to make it as clear as you possibly can. So I would say that when it comes to business and making sure that people know what you're about, having some body of literature that people can point to that AI did not generate, it came out of your own brain, it came out of your own hands, that means that they really know you better. And then they can reach for you when they have that next event. They say, "Oh gosh, who's that guy that talks about kindness?" Or who is that person that talks about change management? Whatever it is, they actually have some reference point. And it's also really nice that they can hand that off to somebody else and say, "Hey, I just read this really, really good book. You should check it out." And they can put it in the hands of somebody else. That is really helpful in the business world.
Thank you for sharing that. It makes me think too that it's likely a vice versa, right? Like the writing the book helps you with crafting the speech, and giving the speech helps you with writing the book. And it's like kind of like they both are they feed into honing our message.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, I think I heard a little birdie tell me that there's a book project for you coming up. Could you, are we to where we could share a little about that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yes. I am writing a multi-author book, and I'm the lead author in this one. I've named it after my company. So this is the Our Future is Kind, and the subtitle is The Ultimate Guide to Making a Difference. And it's really fun trying to find the exact right people to plug into the book because
Mm,
at the end of the day, Our Future is Kind. It's my brand. It's my company. It's
yeah.
something that I really believe in, and I only want to go down this path with people who also believe that we need to create the best possible future. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about it. I'm writing the introduction and the conclusion in one of the chapters, but I have 24 other slots. I have a few that are already spoken for, but I'm really looking for these great either budding authors or people who are already practiced authors who just really want to make a difference in the world.
That's lovely. How do we participate if we would like to be considered?
People can just reach out to me. They can find me on LinkedIn or at my email address, which I'm sure you're going to have in the show notes. But yeah, if you're interested in this sort of work, in getting to highlight your own work and your own focus in the world, as well as give these great tools to our readers on how to build a great future, you might want to be part of this project. So please do reach out to me.
And even the project itself is a kind project. It's a way to share with others. It's a way to bring others along where we go further when we go together. Right? And 24, that's lovely. That's going to be quite a beefy book with many different voices. That sounds very interesting. And
Well, and yeah, at the end of it, it's also really fun because somebody picking up the book, they don't have to go linearly through the book. They can pick it up like a
yeah.
Whitman sampler of chocolates, and they can flip to a chapter that has the right, the right
Oh,
name to it, and then they can dig into that one, and then oh my gosh, they just got these golden nuggets, these great ideas, and then later they can come back and pick it up and grab another chapter.
oh, I'm excited for you for that. That's really lovely. So why don't you just shout out your email now in case anyone wants
Sure.
to,
Sure, yeah, it's Michael at michaelgneese.com.
neece.com, michaelgneese.com. Perfect. Love
Awesome.
that. I really like to think about consciousness and awareness and responding versus reacting, and these kind of self directed, self managed, conscious leadership topics. How we can show up in the world as as a leader, no matter what the job title is, right? It's really more of like being a leader in your home, your community, and on the PTA, on the HOA board, on the, wherever we show up, we have opportunities to be conscious about our choices and make choices that help improve and help bring people along, right? For in a positive way. So when we think about conscious leadership, this self-managed or self-directed leadership, is there a specific leadership moment or experience that you have had that has shaped you in this way?
A leadership moment that has allowed me to affect a team. Is that the question?
However you'd like to use it. Could be as a father, as a brother, as a community member, as a owner of a business. Like what comes to mind? A leadership moment that has shaped you or that maybe you've seen with someone else. Well, like whatever pops to the top, we'll trust is what's meant to come out.
Sure. I was working at Moorhead Planetarium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, when I was a student at UNC. And my first boss, my first supervisor was Jim Horn. Um, and I love that man. He's just down the road from me. He and I, every once in a while, still get a lunch or a breakfast or something.
Oh, that's lovely.
Jim Horn helped shape me into the leader that I have become over the years.
Mm.
I started there as a student at the lowest end, and then after a year, I was promoted, and another year, I was promoted, and suddenly I was in charge of a lot of students. And Jim really helped me think through how do I guide them? How do I protect them? How do I listen to them, get them what they need? We were always onboarding these new students who had to go into this really unique space. You walk into a planetarium theater, anybody who's attending there, you want them to have a great experience. They sit in these chairs and lean back and look up at constellations and planets and imagine space travel. And so these students are the ones who are guiding these audience members to the seats and whatnot. And occasionally it doesn't go great.
Mhm.
Occasionally you have a student who is, they're 20, they're trying to figure out what life is all about. Maybe they're not in a great mood. And so maybe they say the wrong thing to the audience members. It just doesn't go well. Or they're not showing up on time and they're not wearing the right, outfit and whatnot. And so I just remember having so many great discussions with Jim where I would say, well, this person didn't show up on time and they weren't dressed right. And this other person didn't show up at all. They missed their shift. And rather than saying, well, tell me the details so I can go fire them, or tell me the details so I can, give them some disciplinary action, he would say, what's going on in their life? What's
Mm.
what's happening to this person? And I just remember asking them the question, why does this matter? Why are we getting into that? They didn't show up and do the thing. And his response was, well, we all have bad days. We all have moments, or even seasons of our lives that are not great. So what's going on with this person? And so he taught me about the humanity of other people that we work with. It doesn't matter if they report to you or if they're in charge of you, understanding that an aggressive person coming at you or a person who is suddenly slacking off and you don't know what's underneath all of that, the right response is always to be curious. And I learned that from Jim Horn, and I'm just forever grateful for his mentorship and guidance and every way that he helped shape me into the leader that I am now.
Wow. How wonderful that you had that experience so young.
Yeah, 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 and not everybody will end up in a situation where you have a supervisor who automatically also becomes a mentor. That is
Right.
not a guarantee in the world. People are busy, they don't read your mind, they don't necessarily know that you need a mentor. But Jim took the time to really ask those questions and be there and sit with me.
And he taught you to see the person, not um the experience that happened, the circumstance. It's like he taught you to look beyond that. Boy, that's really powerful and can be applied at all times. in history, but definitely today. We're looking at people beyond how we may see them show up. Makes me think of when I was much younger, probably 30 years ago. Um, I worked for a general surgeon who was just an incredible human. And I was his office manager. And I remember having a conversation with him one day where I was a little frustrated with this patient. I felt like she was trying to like get away with not paying anything. And, I was feeling that way. And I brought her chart to him. And he said, now remind me, because there's so many people, right? So it's like, he pulled out her chart, he took a look, and I was telling him my conversation in my head about how I think we need to send her to collection. And he said, he put the chart down, he looked at me, he says, I have so much respect for her. He says, she's had such a hard life. He says, she's really pulled herself up. Makes me emotional. She's really pulled herself up by her bootstraps. He said, I do remember talking to her. And then he started telling me just a little. I didn't overshare, but like this is, she's really had a tough life. He said, we're just gonna let this one go. And I remember I was a little embarrassed because I'd come in guns a-blazing. But I will never forget that conversation about seeing the person and seeing their situation. And what was more important here was helping a human thrive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is what you're
Right.
talking about. Recognizing they're having a bad day. Maybe there's something big going on. We don't come into work and just start sharing, everything going on at home, right? So that's really important.
Mm.
And so Jim is still your mentor and still somebody you can spend time with. That's lovely. I hope he has a chance to hear this, and you honoring him that way.
Well,
Mm.
I'm lucky to have him in my life still.
That's fabulous. Um, so then how did that apply? Can you take the principles you learned from him and where can we shine it into you as a leader? What have you learned for you as a leader? Like I learned for me that day with the doctor that I need to slow my roll a little bit and look at the whole situation, right? And so that's helped me be more power, but it's been a powerful principle for me as a leader. How about you? What could you take from those early leadership moments that have shaped you now in your business?
It's made me more aware of the fact that as much as I think I know about the universe, I know the Michael Neese version of it,
Mm,
right? And so when it comes to leading teams, when it comes to consulting with business leaders, I have a CEO right now that I'm working with to try to help make his organizational structure stronger, and to make sure that his people know and trust each other better and really see things better. But it is really easy to forget that we have only one perspective and we need to listen for all the others. And I'll tie this neatly into a little present here with a little bow on the top. Uh, I am a straight white male living in a country where that is valued highly.
mm,
And it means that I don't necessarily show up with the same biases aimed at me. And so when I'm working with women, when I'm working with people in groups that have tr historically been suppressed or overlooked or ignored, I try to check some of my bias at the door, but then I also just try to ask questions. It's really important to understand the other person's experience. And where I have seen this in very real, stark conditions, there was a survey that was made of jurors who were being asked questions. Are you worried about crime? And they asked these potential jurors one by one by one, are you worried about crime? Are you worried about crime? Where would you say on the scale that you're worried about crime? And the vast majority of men who sat on that stand said they weren't really worried about it. And the vast majority of women said they were worried about it because women walk out into parking lots at dusk and look around and have to assess, am I safe here? Do I have a buddy? How far away is my car? Do I have my keys out? And those are simply things that are not as present or as ever present for a lot of males in our society. So when it comes to my leadership, if I'm sitting down with a male leader, female leader, or somebody who's part of a group of a religious minority or a racial minority, I try to ask questions. I try to educate myself before I even walk in the door as much as I can, so I don't have to ask very many questions. But these all come from that same place of curiosity that Jim Horn taught me about the people in our care. You really want to know the other person and the experience that they're going through, and one by one, people are different. So it's good to stay curious.
Oh, amen. I hear you. I mean, that right there, that's such a powerful concept. It's good to stay curious because we can tend to think we know it all. Um, love that. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I I would like to highlight that you have an Amazon author page with multiple books. In fact, we can see those books behind you on the shelf.
Joy Unleashed is a multi-author book that was led by Sherry Elise. She is known as America's Joy Magnet, and that is such
Oh,
an apt
mm,
label for her because she knows how to bring joy to other people and to highlight how to do it and how to live your best life. And that's what this book is all about. So she led 24 of us co-authors. It's the same publishing company that is going to be producing my book as well by the end of this year. But yeah, Joy Unleashed is exactly what it sounds like. It is 25 little vignettes and strategies or sparks that help light the fire of joy within you and within your heart. So if you pick up a copy of that book and just flip it to any chapter that looks appealing, it's probably the right chapter. And so it'll give you those little strategies, tips, and tricks on how to really rethink your life, to reframe something, to grab hold of that strategy and find joy, create
yeah,
joy.
joy is an ultimate expression of emotion. And so, if our listeners would like to learn more about Michael's books, we have an author page, an author shop page. I'll be sure and put that in here. Is there anything you want to share about any of the other books before we move on?
Oh, just be a cheerleader for books that you love. So if you pick up one of my books and you really love it, tell a friend, give them a copy, do something like that. If you find other books that you think I should know about or that Vanessa should know about, please let us know because I'm a voracious reader. I think that it's a window into somebody else's mind and heart, and it gives you a chance to learn something new. So let me know about your favorite book recommendations too.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love that. Um, Books are so important, that sharing of knowledge. And I think we'll always have paper books. I mean, I definitely am an Audible person, but I was just thinking how we had just recently in January, we had our expansion retreat, and we had a whole pile of books. I brought some of my favorite books to give away, and they were all gone by the end because who doesn't want the feel of the book and then the knowledge? It's just such a yummy experience. I love that you're an author, and I love that you're sharing that way. I think it's such an important medium to keep going. So thank you for that. Thank you for contributing to the knowledge out there that way. Let's talk about living in alignment. We've been talking about conscious leadership. We've talked about like what are some strategies for growing our business or growing our career, but let's get like more to the core of this idea of living in alignment. I would ask you, like, what does living in alignment mean to you?
It means having some courage in those moments where it would be easier to cut a corner,
Mm,
when it would be easier to just not live a value, and reminding yourself what are those values? What are the things that you truly believe in? So I believe in kindness. Kindness is not weak. Kindness is one of the strongest, hardest things that you can engage in, and it's one of the things that we can use to build the future. And just one very easy example is if I've recently gone through a divorce. And I have talked to other people who have gone through similar circumstances. And so many people say the apps are terrible. Isn't it horrible trying to find your person and you're looking through and you communicate with the people and you don't hear back or you hear something and it's just a terrible experience. And so, in trying to go through some of that experience myself, I just try to be really genuine. And if somebody has reached out to me, I try to just tell them just seriously and kindly who I am, what I'm looking for, what I'm going through, and if things don't go well, I just try to say, well, it's been great to know you, as opposed to
Oh,
ghosting somebody, as
right.
opposed to just saying, oh, I don't have to reach out to that person ever again. I mean, things can peter out and you don't have to have the wrap up conversation if you've gone on a date. But the reason I bring this up is that it is so hard when big emotions are involved to sometimes say what's real and what's true. And when you do, it makes you stand out from everybody else. And it also sets yourself apart as a role model for how to do it better. So live to me, living your values means
Yeah.
being courageous and doing it even on the days when it's terrible to do that. And I know that you and I both love pets and cats in particular.
I thought you were going to say Star Trek, but pets, yes.
Well, we both love Star Trek, but I mean, imagine that somebody was driving around your neighborhood and hit your cat with their car.
Oh, let's not imagine that.
I have been in those circumstances years and years ago. Somebody had hit a cat and oh, it's terrible. But knowing that it happened, having some sort of closure is far better than trying to protect somebody's. I mean, that is the kindest thing you could do in that moment is to admit what happened, to talk
Yeah.
about what happened, and to try to live in that grief in that moment with that person, to try to be there for them and to try to say, I am so sorry. In a million years, I wouldn't have planned for this
No.
to be the moment we have to share. But I'm here for you, and how can I make it up to you, and what can I do? That is infinitely better than, just pretending it never happened and going along the way. That's nice. Nice is pretending that everything's fine. Kind is having those truthful, honest conversations that need to be had.
Wow. Wow, that was powerful. That's true. Absolutely. And I'm hearing emotional maturity in here in what we're talking about and emotional intelligence, right? And like everybody has the ability to be emotionally mature, the ability if they would like to practice and flex those muscles. But you're right, it really starts with courage. I hadn't really thought about it that way. It's brave. I think people are very inflammatory in general in the world right now. So we see, in the news, we see a lot of that out in the world. And this idea of the courageousness that you're sharing to be able to be kind and not have to prove that we're right is what I'm taking from our conversation today. Would you give me like a wrap up follow up for this whole conversation? I feel like that's what I'm taking from it. But this idea of being kind.
I'm glad that you brought up ego, Vanessa, because I think that's the one big problem we can run into. It's well, I know what the rule is, and you violated the rule, and I can't believe you would have done that, and now I'm going to be righteously indignant at you.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a place of my ego, I'm right. If you did this thing and you get away with it, I don't know why I should have to follow that rule. And so it just becomes it becomes about me. I think a healthy ego helps you to ask for a share of the food when food is being distributed and you didn't get enough. And I think a healthy ego does that. And I think we should all have a healthy ego. I think it's okay to say, hey, in case you didn't notice, I also
I'd
need
like
some
to eat.
food. And I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think the unhealthy ego is when somebody passes you on the highway in the wrong lane and they are trying to teach you a lesson is what your brain tells you. They're trying to go faster than me. They're getting ahead. And that inflammation of ego is this sense of I shouldn't have to do these things. Don't you know who I
The
am?
indignation.
It's that
Oh,
indignation. And as soon as you give other people nothing to push against, all of the emotions come down and everything's a little bit calmer. So if in the HOA they're saying you shouldn't be able to plant these types of flowers or you should be trimming your grass more often or whatever it is, if the egos that are present there are too big, the easiest thing in the world to do is to step away and say, I'm not going to give you anything to push against. I don't really have strong feelings about that. I can see that you do. Are you okay? Checking in with the other person is really helpful. But at the end of the day, you don't have to go to those meetings anymore. I mean, that is a solution. Another solution is to say, wow, that sounds like it's a really big deal for you. Can you tell me more about that? And just let them have the chance to expound so they can get out all of the toxins. And then once all of the toxins are out, oh, I had my say. I was able to express why I'm so upset about this. Oh, okay. How are you feeling now? Are you okay? All right. Let's come to a good, reasonable solution for everybody. Let's see how we can do with that. But
yeah.
giving everybody the chance to say their say, sometimes that's the solution.
So we apply this in at work. We can apply this at home. We can apply this in any situation, right? So it's that having that curiosity is what I'm hearing you say, and the courage to not have to be right now, the courage to be able to be the person who listens. I mean, this is really powerful. This is so powerful. Is there anything you feel called to share before we wrap up with anything we didn't touch on today that you'd like to share?
Right now, there are forces in this world that are trying to tell you that you are puny and small and that you don't have any effect on anything and you should ignore all of it.
Mm.
You should remember that you have great power inside of you and you have the capability of building a better future. And you can do it one smile, one handshake, one door that you hold open for somebody at a time. I would just say that that is the most important thing to remember is that you have power and you need to shut out all of the noise that's telling you that there are too many things and you can't affect anything and instead focus on what are the small things I can do. I can be a big brother. I can help by giving a donation to a cat shelter. I can do something where I write down my ideas and help share them to the world. But whatever way that you can do, don't give up on that power. Don't give it away. You have that power. Use it.
Oh, love that. Louder for the people in the back, right? Love that. Love that wonderful reminder. Well, Michael, thank you for being here and sharing from your heart today. It was just really lovely. It's given me so much to think about today, I'm sure, and our listeners as well. Before we go, I want to remind our listeners to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode of the Evolving Expert podcast. And if you have a few minutes, we'd love for you to give us a review. It will help others discover the podcast. So once more, ourfutureiskind.com, Michael Neese. What was it? It was Michael at michaelgneese.com email if you'd
Perfect. Yeah,
like to
yeah.
reach out to Michael. And I'll be sure and put the Amazon link and any other pertinent links for social and all that in our show notes. Thanks so much for being here, Michael. And until next time, everyone, be well and be kind.